Welcome to the Multicultural Mindset broadcast. Your host is Dr. Laverne H. Collins, a licensed professional counselor, award-winning trainer, and keynote speaker. Dr. Collins is the author of Overlooked: Counselor Insights for the Unspoken Issues in Black American Life. Dr. Collins has also been a featured monthly columnist in the American Counseling Association's Counseling Today magazine with her Honoring Diversity column. Now, here's Dr. Collins.
Hello, and welcome back to the Multicultural Mindset, where we are about helping counseling and behavioral health professionals respond differently to people of color, to Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And I am so excited today to have as my guest Dr. Maxine Bryant. Dr. Bryant is a good friend, and let me tell you some things about this amazing woman. She recently retired from Georgia Southern University, where she was an assistant professor of criminal justice. But that's not all. Dr. Bryant is the founding director of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Center and gave leadership also to the Center for Africana Studies. She is a lifelong educator, author, and I love this, truth seeker. Dr. Bryant is a truth seeker, and she brings today decades of research and a personal mission to uncover and share the authentic African diaspora story. Now, why do we talk about this? Why are Dr. Bryant and I going to have this conversation today? We're going to have this conversation today because it is so critically important, in our opinions, our shared opinions, for people of African descent especially, but everyone, to know your story, know your history, know as much of your heritage as you possibly can. In my book, Overlooked, I say that one of the unspoken issues are identity factors, identity issues. So listen in, sit down, get your coffee, get your juice, whatever, and just listen in on our conversation today, because we're going to talk about why this is so important. Dr. Bryant shares my passion for Africa, travels to Africa. She's been there many times, as have I. And I tell everyone, I believe that if you just describe yourself as Black American or African American, even Afro Latina, Afro Caribbean, if you have roots in Africa, you are part of the African diaspora. And I tell folks, if you can go nowhere else, if you put no other travel on your bucket list, I encourage you to put travel to the motherland on that list. So Dr. Bryant shares that passion with me. Thank you so much for being with me, Dr. Bryant. Glad to have you.
I'm excited to be here with you, Dr. Collins. This is an honor. And anytime I get an opportunity to talk about our roots, our heritage, and our history, I'm all in.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, let me invite you first to tell the audience why you are so passionate about that. What does that do for you, and what can that do for others?
So I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I went to a predominantly white high school, grade school, middle school, and high school. And that meant I didn't know my roots. Now, I'm adopted, and my parents were from Louisiana. They were already in their late 40s when they adopted me. So their perspective was, to be successful, Maxine, you need to be as white as you can. So I was taught to emulate whiteness. I didn't know my Black history. When I got to college, I took a Black history course. I found out Egypt was in Africa. Who knew, right? I began to uncover little bits and pieces, and a seed was planted in me, I think you could say, to begin a journey of learning. And I had to self-teach. There's an author, Margaret Burroughs, who wrote the poem, "What Shall I Tell My Children Who Are Black?" And she poses that question, particularly when Blackness is said to represent all that is ugly. The devil is black, evil is black, storm clouds are black, black hens lay no eggs, black chickens, black cows give no milk, right? And white is made to represent all that is good and fine and decent. And Jesus must be a white person, right? She says all of that in the poem. Then she says, I have sat at the knee of Mother Africa, and I find that I have much to tell my black children. I will tell them of the kings and queens who ruled the Nile and studied the stars and created the laws of mathematics, right? And I feel that. So that's what I had to do. And she says that we have to tell our children because none other will do it for us. And so I had to learn for myself, Laverne. I had to figure it out for myself. And I'm passionate about making sure that other people, black and white and brown, know the truth about the genius that originated in Africa. I'm married to that.
And your excitement is contagious. I promise you. There are people right now who are watching, who are Googling Africa, who've never even thought about Africa before. There are many people in the African American community or Black community who will actually say, I don't identify as African American. Just call me Black because I don't know anything about Africa. I have no connection to Africa. What do you say to that?
What comes to my mind is that one is a problem because we have to have connectivity to something. And many people say, well, I was born in the United States of America, and so that's how I identify. Newsflash. The United States of America, first of all, is stolen land, and two, they don't want you here, right? So, let's be frank about it. We have rosewood, we have greenwood, we have all of those things that remind us that throughout history, the people who stole the land from the indigenous people who are already here have made it plain they don't want Black folks here. So then I got to have some place to connect to. And another news flash, both science and scripture agree mankind originated in Africa. Woo-hoo. So we all can, if we trace back far enough, trace our roots. And for Black people, that's important because we have been given a lie and mythology about ourselves for over 400 years. We've been told we were less than, we were minority, and we are not. We've been told we are less intelligent. We've been told we are nothing. We are only we're only good for enslavement, right? Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about something called vacant esteem. That ain't no esteem. It's none. And it comes because we don't have a sense of, too many of us don't have a sense of connectivity to a land that we can claim association with. And so for me, being able to be proud to say my heritage is from Africa gives me a sense of being, right?
Yes.
Two quick stories.
Yes.
In class, I taught. And one of the classes I taught was Intro to African American Studies. And there was a young man who was African, and he didn't self-identify, right? In that class, I always loved to teach it in the fall because I would end up with a whole section on Kwanzaa. And their assignment was to identify a Kwanzaa principle and apply it to their lives. Now, remember, he had introduced himself with whatever American name he had. That young man got up in class and he said, my principle is Kuchachagalia. And that means self-determination, to name myself. And he introduced himself from his African name. And he said, as a result of this class, I am proud to be African. Girl,
wow.
A dry eye. I'm not doing his story justice. There was not a dry eye in the class.
Wow.
From here, he had found out about himself, Laverne.
Yes.
And I just came back from Rwanda. And while I was there, I was able to teach and share with a group of young adults, ages like 23 to 33. And I was able to tell them about the greatness of their country prior to colonization. They did not know because the colonizers aren't going to tell them, right?
Right.
I got a letter.
And the colonizers didn't know, truthfully. They knew some, but they can't talk about the richness of clans and tribes and indigenous nations on the continent of Africa.
They couldn't. So
So
that
yes,
young man wrote me and said, I am now proud to be African. So
wow.
I
Wow.
gotta do this. I cannot not do this.
Yes, yes. And in counseling, a lot of times counselors will leave identity and culture, ethnicity, and yeah, nativity, as we say, they will leave those things in the background and not bring those things to the foreground. But I always encourage, hey, let's bring everything about you, everything about your identity, all of your identities, your
Yes.
race, your ethnicity, your culture, to bring all this to the foreground. And the reason I say that is because in this country, unfortunately, people of color often have the experience of feeling invisible and feeling invalidated. And I don't believe that the counseling room should be another place where my race is treated as invisible. I don't believe in colorblind approaches to racial relationships or identities. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. If I'm in a counseling situation, I bring my whole self to you. And my whole self has experienced a wide range of things. I used to be involved in substance abuse counseling and training counselors who were dealing with addictions and mental health and things of that nature. And I would tell them the very same thing you were telling them, that the entire person is present in those sessions and needs to be addressed. Unfortunately, too many counselors either are afraid because of not wanting to seem that they don't know, or they're uncomfortable with the idea of dealing with Blackness and what that means in the United States. And I need for you to see me not only as a female, I need for you to see me as a Black female, because my
Yes.
Blackness brings
Yes.
a whole realm of experiences that I need to learn how to deal with in the midst of whatever you're counseling me on, whether it's a psychosis, whether it's an addiction, whatever it is, right? I need for you to see me and then
See all of me.
understand, yes, all of me, right? In all my realness and rawness, and feel comfortable with that. The counseling session cannot be another place where I'm made to feel invisible if you are going to help me. And you took a pledge to do no harm, right? But anytime you are ignoring the essence of who I am as a Black person, you're doing some
doing harm. That's right. Thank you for saying that. I so agree. I love how you said that. I love how you said that. So, Dr. Kenneth Hardy has a book entitled Racial Trauma Clinical Strategies and Techniques for Healing Invisible Wounds. And he talks about two wounds. The first two, he talks about seven, eight wounds, but the first two stand out for me. He talks about internalized devaluation and an assaulted sense of self. My hunch is that when you have a strong sense of identity, maybe you have a little more strength to be insulated from internalizing those externalizing messages of devaluation. And maybe you have a little bit more fuel to fight against an assaulted sense of self. And all of that comes from living in a racist society. You've already laid that out very nicely. But what else do you think people can gain in terms of understanding self when it comes to having the ability to fight that feeling of devaluation?
We, unfortunately, particularly in this country, are bombarded with messages that devalue our being, right? Whether it's through laws, whether it's through media, books, lessons in school, what have you. If I understand that I come from genius, and I'm able to identify that genius was not stopped through slavery. It was not stopped through Jim Crow. It was not stopped through lynchings. It has not been stopped through mass incarceration, the war on drugs, all of that. Even while enslaved, African descendants were still inventing and creating and contributing to the world, right? When I understand the greatness that I come from, then I can, as you said, begin to use that knowledge to insulate myself from isolation that comes as a result of being put down and devalued, right? We have learned how to hate ourselves. We've learned self-hatred. We've learned devaluation. We've learned to put down each other. It was almost as a way, particularly, what's that game that Black kids sometimes would play? We would talk about each other. Your mama
doing the dozens.
Yeah, the dozens, right? That was a way to kind of insulate ourselves so it didn't hurt so bad. But wait a minute. We learned to put each other down.
Go down.
The powers that be mastered, divide, and conquer. Right? Once I understand who I am and can build me back up, regardless of what messages and arrows of hate are coming at me, then that positions me to be able to stand tall and to be able to be proud of who I am and what I bring to the table. But I can't do that if I don't know that, and I can't teach that if I don't know that. So I got to seek that. And I need people in my life, my counselor, my teacher, my dear, people in my life who know to seed that into me. And anyone who's listening today, who's in a role of giving information and building up people, learn it so that you can teach it, so that you can share it, right? That way, Dr. Collins, we create a win-win situation, if we're really honest about it. So yeah, without that sense of identity, if I don't know who I am, I don't know who I can become.
Now that is a mouthful. If I don't know who I am, I don't know who I can become. Powerful.
I'm a copy.
Powerful. Yeah. Yeah. You and I have a shared love for an African proverb that you shared with me, and I've adapted it too. It's that until the lion tells the story, the hunter will always be the hero. The story has been so distorted. Colonialism here in what we know as North America, by its European name, and even what we know as Nigeria, Liberia, Ghana, Cameroon. We are allowing the lion to tell our story.
Yeah.
And I bring Africa into that, the African countries, those few that I did name, because a lot of people don't realize that those are not identities. Those are nationalities. They are geographic boundaries that resulted from Europe's colonization of Africa.
Absolutely.
So in Africa, they identify as Awe, God, Akan, and Tree, and Masamara. They identify by their clan and their tribes, and they know that they're Nigerian or whatever, in the sense that that's their government. But those governments, those lines of country boundaries, national boundaries, were established by European countries because they needed to draw boundaries to demonstrate or to show forth their colonialist rule. So whenever some of these ancestry DNA kits come back and tell me that I'm so much Nigerian, so much Ghanaian, so much Liberian. Do you know they are actually giving me yet another European designation for my identity?
Wow, very true. Very, very true.
So my first trip to Africa, I was learning about how they identify. I thought, well, that's different. They're speaking about their clans and their languages and their tribes. A country the size of Ghana is about the size of the state of Michigan, and there are, I think, like 60 some
Yeah.
languages and identities within what is called Ghana. Those are the kinds of things that we're not taught because we're letting the hunter tell the story. I'm going to share this and I'm going to ask for how this resonates with you. When I first went to Ghana, my very first trip, I was ministering at a number of churches. And on my final day there, some people from the church came to thank me and, send me off with their love and their appreciation. And an elderly, retired Ghanaian school teacher said to me, she said, I used to take my students on field trips to show them the how the slave trade operated and where the exchanges were taking place. She was speaking of Cape Coast in Ghana. And she said, I would tell my students that they wouldn't have taken someone older and weaker like me, but they took our best. They took our strongest. And I was about to say, when she said they took our best, I was about to say, well, no, I mean, Africa is still strong. Africa is rich in talent and people. And she gave me the hand. She gave me the hand. She said, she said, God knew, but she said, we know too. She said, we've been watching and we know you built Europe and we know you built America and we are so proud of you.
Wow. Wow.
I cried for the rest of the day, Dr. Bryant. I cried for the rest of the day because I recognized that the ancestral voice, so to speak, was represented in what she said to me as the diasporan hearer.
Yes. Yes.
That was the first time I heard the lion tell the story. And it changed my life.
All right. Yes.
It changed my life. Because she didn't just include, we know you built America. She said, we know you built Europe.
Hello.
And we know you built America.
Yes.
And then she said, and we're so proud of you. I love to tell that story because I want people to hear, people of African descent on this continent. I want them to hear that there is a knowing and that there is pride from Africa's side.
Yes. Yes.
Regarding our accomplishments.
Yes.
What we've done, our forced labor, what we built, what we survived, what we don't get credit for. Now, you have a class and you have another product too. I want you to talk about that because I think that your class and your product, I'll let you describe it, speak to this history. Please tell us about it and how it can be used.
And I will. I got to just comment on what you just said. Here's the sad thing, Dr. Collins. There's a pride that came forth out of that elder's voice that's lacking here in the United States among us. It's not non-existent, but it's lacking. Not enough
it's that
of us.
Internalized devaluation
Absolutely.
From all of the externalized devaluing messages.
And that's a painful reality that needs to be righted. And my role as a griot in Africa, the traditional griot is the history keeper. The griot is the person who maintains and keeps relevant history down through the decades. Earlier this year, in short order, in January of 2025, the term Grio Speaks was dropped into my spirit. And I know that God put it there. And I have a business, Bryant Educational Seminars and Training. So I am accustomed to creating and designing trainings and facilitating them across the world, right? And I'm a professor, a previous professor. So I designed Grio Speaks modules. There are 4 modules to Grio Speaks. Module number 1 talks about before we were enslaved, the greatness that came out of Africa. And there are 4 weeks. Each week is 1 hour each that we meet. Module 2 talks about captivity and resistance. I had a conversation with someone once who said, well, if the Africans had resisted more, we wouldn't be here. Oh, no, baby girl, they resisted. But we don't know because we've not been telling our story, right? Module 3 talks about freedom. And what was that really like? And did the Emancipation Proclamation really free us? Think about that, right? Mm-hmm. And module 4 talks about genius. Genius cannot be stopped. And so we begin in Africa and we end with a call to action to keep living in your genius. Keep creating, keep inventing, right? And so each module, as I said, is 4 weeks, and we meet for 1 hour a week. The next module 1 begins June 7th. It's a Saturday, and we will meet from 11 to 12 because people on the West Coast wanted to join in. So I lowered, made the time different. I adjusted the time, and module 2 will begin in September. Now, in addition to the modules, God also gave me a board game by the same name, Grio Speaks. And the whole purpose is to educate while entertaining. So we're edutaining, so to speak. And you go around the board, much like Monopoly, and each of the squares is an African country. Right. And so you have the opportunity then to land on a square, and each square has a border. And the border is either black for the people, red for the blood that was shed, for wars, for skirmishes, things of that nature, battles, green for geography, and gold for culture. Right. And you land on a square, you pick up a card, and based upon the color of the square, and then you have the opportunity to answer the question on the card. It's either going to be about people, land, geography, or
so you're learning about Africa and culture and history and people, and yes. Yes, so I love it.
Try out the game. I live in Savannah, Georgia now. And on Tuesday, we're having a premiere launching of the trial of the game so I can get feedback and look for it this summer. You know,
I love it. I love it. Now, you gave us the dates for your Grio Speaks modules for 2025. Yeah. Where can people go if they happen to be watching this after the dates that you've given? Is there a website where they can go to get
more information and stay up to date? Please, yes. Go to www.drmaxinebryant.com. So that's DRMAXINEBRYANT.com.
And I'll be sure to put that at the end of the. I'll be sure to put that in the podcast as well on screen.
Before we leave, I'm also a poet, and you brought to my mind, because several times during our conversation, you mentioned the word invisible. And may I share just a short poem that speaks to something that I think your audience can appreciate?
Please.
You look at me, but you don't see me. I speak, but you don't hear me. You brush against me, but you don't feel me. I am invisible to you. The essence of me is free, but you want to hold me captive to your image. The beauty of me shines bright, but is darkened, not by the night, but rather by your verbiage. I want you to see me, not the sight of my emotional or mental instability. I want you to communicate with me and not scream words of insanity. I want you to touch me and not avoid me as though I have leprosy. I am here. I too sing America. I feel the absence of your touch. Your ability and my instability can make a melodious melody when we come together. Promise me you'll do better. See me, hear me, touch me.
Oh, beautiful. Mm, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's a
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful way to end our conversation today. My goodness, that's so powerful. So powerful. See me, see me. There's no place, there's no good place for a colorblind approach to people.
No.
To not see me
Mm.
is from in my thinking, it's a way of saying, if I let you know how I was taught to see you, you wouldn't like it.
Ooh. Wow.
So let me be colorblind so that the way I was taught to see you doesn't come out accidentally.
Mm. Mm.
Mm,
That part.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So see me with, as you said, I mean, just see me, respect, and appreciate me.
Yeah.
Appreciate all of this. Appreciate me and guide me, help me to appreciate myself and my heritage. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Dr. Maxine Bryant.
Thank you.
An amazing woman, obviously a scholar in Africana studies and an amazing poet, a minister of the gospel, a teacher and entrepreneur, and a game developer, a developer of educational games. So thank you so much. I know you're busy. We appreciate your time today. Thank you, everyone who has tuned in, who's watching the podcast today. What an amazing guest, an amazing conversation. Please, if you enjoyed this, subscribe, like, do whatever you're allowed to do on the platform that you're watching. And most importantly, hit that notifications button along with the subscribe button so that you can know when the Multicultural Mindset is launching a new program. I continue to believe that we have within our power, the ability to serve people of all races and ethnicities well, so that no one feels invisible, so that no one feels invalidated. But we have to be committed to a multicultural mindset. So until we talk again next time, keep on doing what you're doing, keep growing, keep evolving, and keep reaching people with a mindset toward equality, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And I'll see you next time.